Civilization 2 on the PlayStation 1. This is being played on a PlayStation 3. The fat PlayStation 3 that does not have PlayStation 2 compatibility, but it will play PS1 discs. This is video number 2, where I'm playing as the Americans with Queen Harriet Tubman. We are a monarchy. We had a revolution a while ago. It lasted like 1 or 2 turns. I don't even remember. But we used to be I was a despot, and now I'm a queen. So there we go. We stand Queen Harriet Tubman here in America, here in the year 2720 BC. And everyone's very happy here in America with Queen Tubman. It's because I built a wonder of the world. It's the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which I can show you right here. This is our capital city right here, named Cap. And I built the Hanging Gardens. What does it do? It makes everyone happy, or at least it adds one happy citizen to every city. Although I want to say you also get an extra happy citizen in the city where it's built. And I needed that because unfortunately in this game, I'm playing on the Prince difficulty level, which means, hold on, it's coming back, don't worry. Which means that the first 4 citizens are happy. Unfortunately, the 5th citizen is not happy, and they have to be pacified. So I guess every time your city gets its 5th citizen, 150,000 people, they're not happy. It's probably because the city's too crowded. So you have to start pacifying them. Which in this case means having a soldier in place to convert that red. See the left side of the screen where it says no change? There's a red citizen on the right side of that row. That's the 5th citizen. That 5th citizen is always going to be unhappy. So you can pacify them by having a soldier in the city. In this case, it's a trireme. We had a stray trireme roaming the map. We set it here in the city. As long as there is a military unit that is stationed in this city, I keep losing my signal. This is going to be interesting. We'll see how this goes. I'm gonna have to cut off the video at some point. But as long as there's a military unit stationed in this city, then that one red citizen is going to be pacified. I want to say under monarchy, up to 2, if not 3, red unhappy citizens can be made content. That's what the blue citizens are. The dark blue citizens are content. That one red citizen is unhappy. If you go to the bottom of the map, on the bottom of the screen, in the bottom row where it says wonder, those light blue citizens, those 3 light blue citizens are happy citizens. One of them was created because of the wonder of the world, and I want to say another one was created because I want to say another one was created because the wonder added an extra happy citizen in the city where it was built. Uh, Light blue happy citizens are also created when your civilization is happy. When your civilization generates a lot of wealth, at which point there's a lot of extra luxuries. We don't have that here. So I want to say the 3 light blue happy citizens are the result of me building the Hanging Gardens in this city. Let me double check. I want to say in the original PC game, which again I have the CD-ROM around here somewhere. I don't think I have the manual. But I want to say if you go to an FAQ on the GameFAQs.com, what is it? GameFAQs.com, they explain the details about that. They explain what every Wonder of the World does, and also the PC version contains the Civilopedia, which is this right here. The Civilopedia explains the game and most of its mechanics. Not all of them, unfortunately. But it's, in other words, for people like me who played like 1,000 hours of the PC game, I remember a lot of this stuff, and I just sort of absorbed it over the last 2 or 3 decades. I absorbed it over the last 20 years because I played the game for the first time in 1996, if not early 1997. And I'm playing this in February 2025. So I've learned a couple of things over the time. Wonders of the World. What was it called? It's over here. The Hanging Gardens. We don't care about the history of it so much. One extra happy citizen in every city, which becomes very important because, like I said, when you have 4 citizens, when your city is of size 4, the first 4 citizens are content at this difficulty level. But unfortunately, the 4th citizen is not. Or excuse me, the 5th citizen is not. So it becomes very hard to manage large cities in this difficulty level without developing wonders of the world or city improvements that make people content or happy. So building the hanging gardens the way I did allows me to keep my citizens happy, which means they can support, which means the city can be larger without me having to maintain a large standing army with martial law, where soldiers turn red citizens into blue content ones. It's basically you have to maintain a large standing army to pacify your citizens if you have cities that are if your cities are have more than 4 people in them. So the Hanging Gardens make cities more manageable because there is unrest in your cities if there are more unhappy citizens than happy ones. So that fifth citizen is a red one and he's unhappy, and if there are no happy citizens to counteract the unhappy citizen, then it causes disorder. And I want to see if that's explained here. No, it's not. It's explained in the manual though. So there are city improvements you have to build in order to make your unhappy citizens content. For instance, if you build a temple, up to 2 discontented citizens are made content. So again, that's happiness management. The fifth citizen is always unhappy. This temple can make that unhappy citizen content. 2 red citizens serve the same purpose. So again, your city is at level 4. Let me go back to that. So again, if your city is at level 4, the 4th citizen will not be happy. So if I go to, it's in my attitude advisor. So again, we have 4 people in these cities right here. The fifth citizen would not be content. So that's why we have the hanging gardens. So the effect of the hanging gardens is to make all of our cities suitable to reach a size of 5. Because the 5th citizen will be added to Sea West down here and to Easton. These 2 cities will have their 5th citizen shortly, but they will not cause disorder because we have 1 happy citizen to counteract the effect of that 1 red citizen. So that's why we have to keep our eye on the happiness meter here. And we're going to have to start babysitting the size of our cities in the meantime. How do we do that? Well, you go to each city and check on the size of its resources. We're not going to do that. We'll check on the status of its resources. So here, we do not have granaries in any city. I sold the 1 granary I had because I want my cities to grow more slowly right now while I'm exploring. Again, when I play the PC version of the game and I'm more familiar with the game's pacing, then I can start adding granaries and I can start building pyramid wonders of the world. Because if you build the Great Pyramids, they function as the equivalent of a granary in every city, which means your cities grow twice as fast. But since I'm trying to learn the game again, we're not going to be playing that way. So what else can we do here? So we have a surplus of 3. Check on the right side of the screen below the green box where all the wheat is. You can barely read that, but that's wheat. Unfortunately, the game doesn't do a very good job of explaining to me exactly when the new citizen is added to your population. I want to say in the PC version, the wheat had to fill this green box, and that's when the new citizen was created. But that's obviously not true because in this game, I guess the way it works is that we have 4 citizens. So if there are 5 rows of wheat, then that means the 5th citizen will be added when the final row has 5 rows of wheat in it. I believe that's how it works. Worth noting, you see where it says food production on the left side of the screen below the map of the city? That means each citizen eats 2 wheat. So that means our city can grow to a size of 6 because you divide by 2. Your city can support 6 people. So that is a manageable size for us. Because like I said, we have the 5th person will be unhappy, so that 5th person can be counteracted by the 1 happy person that's created by the existence of the Hanging Gardens. So as far as size management goes, we can let this city grow to size 6 and let it stay put. So we can grow quickly. We'll grow the fifth citizen, and then we'll just kind of stay put from there. Then we can switch to building something else. Like right now, we're farming wheat in the grassland, in the shielded grassland. What's this? A city with less than 5 population units cannot support more tax. Okay, you can also convert citizens to taxmen or scientists. We're not going to do that here. You just press up. We're not going to do that. So what does that say? City with less than 5. Okay. So if you want to convert a regular citizen to a taxman, they won't farm. And I forgot I could do that, so I'm glad I discovered that. We have to build a mine here eventually. We'll get to that. But right now, if we take a citizen, like I said, we have 4 citizens here, so they can either farm or we can make them into entertainers, like that. So now everyone's farming, but I don't think we can actually build anything. I don't think we can actually settle any other square here. Yeah, I don't know what this means. I have no idea what that means. It's a red square. I think it just means we can't do. It's a glacier. We can't farm on it. There might be an improvement we can do to that later. And there are also units that we can develop later called engineers that could change squares from one terrain type to another. Our settlers can do that right now. Like they're laying down roads, they can irrigate squares that are next to water or if they're next to other irrigated squares. There are no rivers in this game, which I think is kind of bizarre because again in the PC version, when you had rivers, they served as roads. In this game, I guess because of the console limitations on resolution, they decided to not add rivers. Odd, but I guess I understand it if I'm being brutally honest. Again, you make compromises to convert PC games to console. This was the mid 90s, the late 90s. I'm not surprised. So, the next order of business is to check on the next city, Easton. The third city I founded, which is actually, it's a city that I discovered. There was a goody hut. So once I found the goody hut, boom. There was an advanced tribe there, and they decided to join us. So I guess they're like Samoa, I guess. Well, I guess it's technically colonization, but the way it works is that if you discover an advanced tribe, they are not independent. They just join you because you discovered them. Like, okay, the power of my anime personality, I guess. So, what's our city's setup here? Food production is 9. So what does that mean? That means we can support 4 people here, yeah. Because remember, the way we have it set up in this city is that remember, if your food production says 9, divide that by 2, that means you can support 4.5 people in this city. So if we decide to move one of these forest farmers to grassland farmers, we can now support 5 people in this city. And then it will just stop growing, which is fine. It's manageable for us. So if you want to focus on productivity instead of food, we could develop the forest here instead. But what we're going to do is we're going to do this. Whoops. You can also just press an empty square and they will automatically assign everyone to a square automatically. But what I want to do is we can grow the city and then we'll cut off the population once we reach level 5. Then we can cut off the city's population and I'm fine with that. Someone was saying on Reddit like a few years ago, they're saying that Civilization is not a turn-based game. Like, yes, it is. You do level up. Your cities level up. Your military units level up when they fight. When they win a fight, they gain experience, and that makes them stronger. You know, let's not kid ourselves here. There are veterans in this game. That veteran status is basically the equivalent of leveling up. So we'll worry about these other cities later. I'm building a bunch of caravans because I might have mentioned this in my last video. In fact, we'll have to go to the other map to make that clear. Advisors. I don't think it's under trade. I'll check on that in a second. Total cost 0. So we're stacking cash, but we are not spending. We have no government expenditures, kids. We'll get into more detail about that later. It'll matter a bit later. How do I make this clear? Because it's not listed here, so we'll do this instead. I'm building a. Let me go back to the city list. You see that caravan down there at the bottom of the screen? I guess I can show you that. I'm building a lot of caravans. Caravans basically serve as free explorers, if you will. They don't move quickly, but they can go. They can move through other civilizations, territory. Soldiers can't. Soldiers in this game operate on a principle called zone of control. Without getting too fancy about it, they can't sidle up to other soldiers from other nations. You're not allowed to walk up to another soldier unless you're ready to attack them in this game. So you're not allowed to move past their zone of control. In this game, but in this game, caravans can. So they're allowed to walk up to a soldier and say hi. The other idea is that we use caravans not just as explorers, but they're also sort of like batteries if you want to build a world of wonder. I can show you that. We have a caravan stationed here outside of our capital city. The way it worked is that before I started recording this video, there were about 5, I want to say. Well, there were 4 at least. Yeah, there were 4 caravans stationed here outside of our capital city. So as soon as our capital city was done building a caravan, I ordered them to build a wonder of the world down here. So let's say we wanted to build the Hanging Gardens. It would take at least 10 turns or something. It needs 200 shields to create the Hanging Gardens. Well, at the time we were only using, let me go back. See at the bottom of the screen on the left-hand side, we have 9, we're generating 9 shields in this city. So the idea is that if you dedicate 9 shields every turn, you will eventually have 200 shields being built. And then once your city has generated 200 shields towards the production of the Hanging Gardens, then it's done. So I guess I can show you that. Where's the city list? So if we were building a Hanging Garden, see on the bottom right, see on the right-hand side of the screen where it says caravan? It says there's a 10 there, then it says 0/50. That's the number. We need 50 shields to build a caravan. And we're generating in the center of the row 9 blue shields on every turn. So in 11 turns, say, we will have enough shields. Well, excuse me, yeah, bad math. In 11, that's very bad math. In 6 turns, we will have enough shields to generate a new caravan. And the way the caravan works, I should probably just go back to the city. So the way the caravan works is that you see on the bottom of the screen where it says supplies and demands. So supplies are the trade routes, quote unquote, that have been created. So the way it works is that when you build a caravan, you designate one of the 3 resources, one of the 3 supply resources that caravan will be dedicated to. I created a salt caravan with this. I created a salt caravan, but once it reaches a city, it can decide: do you want to the city? The pop-up, the window dialog will tell you this city does not demand salt, or maybe it does, and you can establish a trade route with that city. You can just keep moving. Trade routes cost money, and they generate extra revenue for both cities. I want to say I'll double check. It's been a while since I played this game. But if the city is building a wonder at the time the caravan arrives, you can tell the caravan to help building the wonder. So it will it will dedicate its 50 shields towards the production of that wonder. So one of the more advanced strategies that I accidentally discovered 10 or so years ago is that if you just have like an army of caravans and if all of your cities just generate caravans like this, you could basically treat them as wonder building batteries. So you have this roaming caravan that's not trading with anybody, but if one of your cities starts to build a wonder of the world, it can deposit 50 shields towards the creation of that wonder. So if you have, like I did, I had 4 caravans roaming the map outside of my capital city. So as soon as my capital city wanted to build the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, it took me only 1 turn because I just deposited 4 caravans right there at the city gates, and they built the Hanging Gardens in 1 turn. I didn't have to spend any money on it. You can speed up production on anything. If you go down here to where it says buy, you can buy a caravan. It costs like, unfortunately, I forget how much gold it costs, but it says 450 gold. And I remember I have 9 shields. So I guess, remember, it takes 50, yeah, it takes 50 shields to build a caravan. So that means it costs 90 gold for every, because remember, you can't partially build something in this game. You can't speed up production by saying, okay, I'll buy 50 shields for 50 gold or something like that. You have to complete the project. So apparently, the way it works is there's probably a trick to this, and I'm not going to save the game, so I'll show you this in a second. What I could do is I can switch to someone cheap. If I want to speed up, this might be a way to half build a project. What I can do is I can switch to a phalanx. I can buy the phalanx for 120 gold, complete it, but then change to the caravan. I've not done this before in a real place, in a PC version of this game. So I can switch to the caravan, and then I can buy the rest. Okay, so that's how you. Okay, so that's the trick. So if you want to speed up production without completing it, you can buy a cheap soldier, like a warrior or a phalanx, complete the phalanx, then once you've, quote, completed the phalanx, change to a more expensive unit like the caravan, and that will speed up production. How do you like that? So I had no idea. I'm learning something. It's been 20 years since I started playing this game. I'm learning something new again. Isn't that amazing? So we'll come back in a second. I just wanted to show you that trick. So we'll explain more about this, and then I'll play more of the game once I explain how I did that. Like I said, now I know. So I'll fix that issue, and then we'll come back in a second. Still doing video number 2 for Civilization 2. Okay, back to video number 2. So we know how big our cities should be in order for them to be manageable at this point in the game. We're going to build a new city here in a second. Let's at least establish where we are. So we have these 2 cities right here. Our capital city, the first city we founded. This western city, which I believe was discovered. It was an advanced tribe that joined our civilization. I built this city with a settler. In fact, I can probably show you this dude. This settler, if I press the select button, check the second line from the bottom. It says Sea West. That's the city that created this settler. Back when our cities were less manageable, I started decreasing the city's population by using settlers. Because when you build a settler, you decrease the city's population by 1, and they are allowed to roam around the map. In this case, we're going to be using this settler to build a new city, because there's a trick that I usually mention. When you have a settler, we start the game with a settler that has no affiliation to any city, so it's free, quote unquote. So we keep this settler around. The PC version has this weird thing where I think if you find a settler in a goody hut, I don't think they belong to any city, but there seems to be a deal here where the settler is assigned to the nearest city. Any military units you find in a goody hut, a treasure chest basically, is supported by the nearest city, even if it's on the other side of the map. So the settler here that belongs to no city, with it says none inside parentheses, that settler will be our roaming settler. The man with no name, I guess, will just be a settler who doesn't join any city, doesn't belong to any city, just roams around the map and performs upgrades the terrain. But settlers like the one that's currently out of Sea West, that settler can be used to build a new city. So we'll have them up here creating a new city right here, and that will basically fill out this home island that we have. The problem is that at some point our civilization is just too big. So we're going to have to move the capital from this tiny corner of the map to a more centrally located place. And there are a couple of cities that are north of us that can serve the purpose. You can't really see them on this map because it's a terrible map. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible map. You can barely see the cities. We have Argentina, which was an advanced city that we found up here. So this advanced city is a city we can use to create a new capital because it's a bit closer to our other cities, I guess. I guess we could also, well, it also depends on where our civilization is because we have a bunch of cities over to the west. So there's an argument to be made that we should probably put the capital somewhere over here. So we'll worry about that later when the time comes. Because when you tell a city to build a palace, it moves the capital to that city. And back when I was a younger player, I would have every city build a palace because remember, palaces remove all corruption from your cities. The problem is that they also demolish the capital. They demolished the palace in the previous capital city, which I did not know at the time. So there's surprisingly, there's no corruption in this city. I'm kind of surprised because some of the other cities we have around here do have some corruption. In fact, I can show you that a bit later. I want to say we found this city. In other words, I want to say it was an advanced city that we found in a goody hut. So I renamed it Ann Canal because it's a canal between these. It's a canal between these two bodies of water. So if we have a ship over here, we can get to the other side a bit more quickly. I guess it might not matter that much. But again, I focus if in a city, it looks like this is a map where I didn't get a chance to see the map that had less water because you saw me build the map at the beginning of my first video, I was never given the option to say, hey, how much of this map is water or not. And of course, I think in Civilization 4, you can determine if you wanted your civilization to be like mostly land or mostly water with a bunch of islands. This feels like an archipelago, if I'm being honest, which is fine. It means we're less likely to be attacked, but it also means that we have to commit to triremes and kind of like shuttle people from island to island on a regular basis. So we're gonna have an army of triremes. Because the problem with that is triremes are expensive. They're another military unit that your city has to support. Without getting too geeky about this just yet, cities can support in a monarchy like ours. This system of government gives us 3 free units to support in every city, which means if your city supports 2, like this one, you're fine. Caravans don't count. But if your city supports 2 military units like this, then we're fine. If you support 4 military units, the 4th unit consumes one of your shields. So you need a shield to support that unit. You'll also see there are units present here in this city. This unit, it currently belongs to our city of Seast, which is the city that's east of our capital. So we had that city support this unit so that the other city sort of relieve the stress on our other cities. So the idea is that no city in our civilization should support more than 3 units at this point. We don't have to worry about fighting off any armies. No one's attacking us yet. No barbarians are attacking us because we're in the villages only difficulty level. So barbarians only appear inside of goody huts and villages. They don't just randomly wander around the map. This is basically an easier version of the Prince difficulty level because I'm trying to get back to the swing of things. Let's see what else we got. Back out. Okay, so we have those 2 cities up there. Let me check and see the corruption in Ancanal. I don't know if that's listed anywhere. I want to say we have an advisor that might clear that up. Resource. Yeah, there's some corruption here. So the city down south has no corruption. But this city's further away from the capital, so there's more corruption here. Eventually, you'll start seeing on the bottom of the screen where it says shields. Eventually, you'll start seeing waste, and it's not very. How do I describe it? The kerning is not good. What's the word I would use? But I can show you that. Press square, go to city. I want to say there are a couple of cities that are far away from the capital, and they have a lot of corruption and a lot of waste. Like Buffalo, for instance. Let's go. Yeah, Buffalo is very corrupt in this game. We'll go down here to resource. Okay, you can't see it. So we'll go to Easton instead. So the fourth city that we found, actually, it was the third city that we found. So it's east of our capital city on another island. We're building a courthouse here. Why? Check out the bottom of the screen. It says there are 9 shields. Support. You can't see that. Again, old video games, man. Next to the word shields, it says support waste. Support is set at 0 because we're not supporting any soldiers. The waste value is 0, which means we are wasting 1 shield due to an inefficient, corrupt government. You also see on the 2 lines above it where it says trade production 5, corruption 2. So if your city is too far away from the capital in a monarchy, if your city is too far away from the capital, there's a risk that some of your trade production will be wasted on corruption. There's a chance that some of your shield production will be wasted on waste. So we're building a courthouse in this city to reduce the impacts of corruption and waste. It reduces it by 50%. Eventually, we're going to become communist. Stay mad, but there's hilarious. There is no corruption under communism in this game. I guess I can show you that if we go to the Civilopedia. When I was playing as a kid, as a younger gamer, Civilization 2 was a lot easier for me to understand once I once I committed to communism. It got a lot easier to manage my civilizations because communism is it's a system for managing very large civilizations because there's no corruption in any of the cities. So your city could be like 1,000 miles away and there'll be no corruption, which is weird. But in this game, yeah. In this game, each unit on the third costs 1 shield per turn. Settlers require 2. So communism's kind of like a monarchy. Happiness. Up to 3 military units in each city will institute martial law, converting 2 citizens. So a total of 6 unhappy citizens can be suppressed. Help! Help! I'm being repressed. So the way it works is that under a monarchy, a soldier can make a red unhappy citizen content. Under communism, a soldier can make 2 unhappy red citizens content. So again, it's very manageable. Corruption and waste. State control of the economy eliminates organized crime. Therefore, your cities experience no corruption. And the hint at the bottom says communism is best for large, far-flung empires, which need to maintain a large military. Use your powerful spies to steal technology. We don't do spying in this game, really. You can. I want to say in Civilization 5, I want to say in Civilization 6, I did a bunch of spying. Well, not a lot. I know I did some spying in Civ 5. Did I play Civ 5 on this channel? No, because it wasn't the console version. But I will play Civ 5 again later because I've been meaning to come back to it. It plays on my laptop, so I'll be fine. I made one video of Civilization 4 that proved that it was compatible with very old laptops, like budget laptops with like 2 cores can run Civilization 2. Can run Civilization 4. You'll be fine. And Civ 4 is on Steam, so yeah, it has that going for it. We'll talk about that later. Again, under a monarchy, settlers eat 1 food per turn. Okay, so communism is more expensive in that sense. Up to 3 military units once you martial law, converting unhappy citizen, yeah, etc. Yeah, moderate rate of corruption. I want to say communism has a lower tax rate. 80%. Wow. So communism is an evolution of monarchy. We overthrew the czar. So how are we doing this? World, yeah, Civilopedia, city improvements, the courthouse. Going to the courthouse. It costs money. It costs 1 gold per turn. So again, I mentioned in the last video, at the beginning of this video, video number 2, I'm not spending any money on any city improvements. But once we start building courthouses and marketplaces and temples, they cost money. They cost money to maintain. So right now we're stacking cash, but eventually we're gonna have to start spending money on infrastructure. Roads are free in this game, but city improvements cost money, so we're gonna have to start spending money on that at some point. So we're gonna start emptying our coffers. We're gonna empty the treasury, spend money on government, on the public sector. Stay mad. Decreases corruption by half, makes city more resistant to bribery and enemy diplomats and spies. That's less important now. Under democracy, one consensus. That's actually cute. Courthouses make citizens happy under democracy. Cough, cough. Um. So what's next? So yeah, we're dealing with corruption in Easton and in as our other far-flung cities become um larger, they will have to deal with corruption and waste as well. So we'll have to manage that. Over on the far western side of the map, you can start to see the other cities I started building. Actually, I discovered them. Excuse me, I discovered them. They're advanced tribes that are joining our civilization. But yeah, there's a lot of water between us and them, so it's going to be less advantageous for us to stay there. You can also move the cursor around the bottom right-hand corner of the screen if you want to move to a different part of the map, which is cute. So then you can see where the cursor is now. So we'll send this dude over here, and we'll figure it out. We're having him explore. We have a soldier here that's going to stay put, because as the city gets bigger, it's going to need a soldier to maintain order. Of course, the other alternative, because remember, every city has a happy citizen now because of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which also means that I'm able to, again, it supports rapid expansion, because in this game, it's always, I would say it's almost always advantageous to have a lot of cities, because it means that you can have a larger army for free, it means you can generate more trade. So ideally, having more cities means you're getting more free stuff in this game. But it also means that you have to like cap the size of some of your outer cities, like this one. So you wouldn't want a city like this can be used to build caravans, but it takes forever for the caravans to get anywhere because it's so far away. But yeah, eventually there's supposed to be an improvement that we get later that makes it safer for us to sail around the world. Right now we're hugging the coast, and that limits where we can go. But once we start uncovering some of the newer techs, the newer scientific advances, then we can start doing the whole it's sail everywhere, because in other words, we're not like the Europeans who have to hug the African coast to get to Asia. At some point, we can sail across the ocean and get to America, and eventually we end up becoming like Magellan and wind up sailing around the world. And if you're a Neil deGrasse Tyson fan, you probably know that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, we were literally when Europeans started sailing to the open ocean, they were basically exploring space. And discovering another continent meant you were basically discovering aliens. But there's a lot of metaphors there that are interesting, but we'll talk about that another time. How do we want to do this? Let's take a look at our kingdom. Our tax rate's fine. Yeah, we discover new things every 7 turns. That's fine for now. You can also micromanage individual cities so that they generate more trade. And again, if your city's large enough, you can set up tax collectors. For example, Cap is a city of size 5. Therefore, I can go to resource and transform and I can unassign one of these dudes. Like I can unassign. We don't have any. These are all productive squares. I don't want to get rid of them. Let's just pick one. So you can go up, press up on the D-pad, change this entertainer to a, who is that? That's a scientist. Yeah, that's a scientist that generates more science. That's an entertainer who creates more luxury, and the luxury makes the forced citizen happy. And I think if you have more happy citizens than unhappy citizens, you have a "We love the king" day, or "We love the leader" day, and that makes the city more productive. And this is a tax collector, I think. Yeah, this is a tax collector. Yeah, it's hilarious. I can barely see that, but it's a tax collector. So if you can micromanage your cities, if you want to change what your city produces, we're going to focus on the regular stuff. So as your city gets larger, you can start specializing. You can start telling people to stop being farmers and start being entertainers to generate luxury, tax collectors to generate more revenue, or scientists to generate more science. So you can discover things more quickly. So again, I forgot that, but the PC version I'm familiar with that. So knowing that you can do stuff like this makes this PlayStation version a lot easier to deal with. My controller's fine. I was worried I might be running out of battery power, but we're good. This thing should last like 6 hours. Uh, I pref- uh, I prefer the Xbox 360 controllers because they took regular AA batteries, same as the Wii controller did, and the Xbox One controller takes AA batteries as well. And I have a bunch of rechargeable AA nickel metal hydride batteries, which went up in price over the last decade. But I bought like about a dozen of them, so they won't go to waste. Eventually, I'll run out. Eventually, I'll run out of them. But back when I was using my Wii controller a lot, I had a whole bunch of rechargeable batteries. In fact, I don't even remember what I was using those for. I think I had some MP3 players. I had tiny MP3 players that ran on AA batteries. Don't need them anymore because now cell phones cost $20 now, and they have way more space in them than a MP3 players are probably the most worthless technology available right now. Completely unnecessary. They're like those $20 cameras. Like, I would say like any smartphone has a better lens than a $20 digital camera does these days. But I guess for kids, you don't want to give them a smartphone. That's an option, I suppose. Uh, Cancel that triangle. So where else are we going? Yeah, we don't need this. This particular trireme, like I said, was being used to pacify the citizens. But we don't need it anymore because we have a hanging garden, so our citizens are happy now. So what's next on the agenda? Let's actually make some progress now because I wanted to set the table. In fact, let me show you my last few cities. We have Buffalo, which again we found here on the far western portion of the map. Our horseman on the bottom of the screen here is going to try and see if we can find another. We want to see if we can find another island. But again, in this game, if you hug the pole, if you hug the poles, the glaciers and the tundra. If you hug this portion of the map, you'll eventually circle the globe, which is kind of hilarious. We're gonna circle the southern pole. He won't die, don't worry. In this game, it doesn't matter. So we can build a new city there. I've got to show you the other cities. So you have Buffalo. We have the A Island north of our capital. We have Easton, which is east of our capital. Where's Newt? Yeah. This is north. It's actually northeast of our city. Why did I call it Newt? It's northeast of our capital, so we can call it Neck, I guess. Turn me into a Newt. We're going to turn it back. So we can call it Neck, I suppose. Whoops. So it's northeast of the capital. We can call it Maine if we wanted. So we know it's close to the capital at least. So there is that. Okay, so if our city get if our yeah, this is actually a very nice island. We can put several more cities here. This is definitely a good place to set up shop eventually. So we have Easton out here. We can build several more cities out here. And I want to say there might be another island over here, but we'll just see what happens. For now, these main islands, the A Island, the N Island, the Capital Island, and Easton, are more than large enough to support our civilization. We need the ability to hop between islands, and that's what these triremes will do. They'll allow us to hop between islands more effectively and efficiently. We'll get to that when the time comes. One thing I don't particularly like, the only way to see if there are any military units on your ship. Whoops. They got to press select. Yeah, unit moved already. So there are no military units on this trireme. In the PC game, you can just kind of hover your mouse over it and know that that's moved already. So he's just gonna pick up a caravan and send it back to the main base. There is a yep. So there's another island over there near Buffalo, so we can hop over there eventually. So again, this is gonna be our conveyor belt of triremes. Because that's already moved. All right, so we'll worry about that later. So we can set up our caravan of triremes, our conveyor belt. Yeah, because we have to. Yeah, those caravans. Yeah, those soldiers up there on the northwest part of the screen aren't really that useful yet. We can move this guy around eventually. So we'll build our new city here. Press square, build new city. Get on with it. Yeah, I know I'm getting on with it. Okay, so delete. So what do we call this city? Well, it's on our capital, so it's in our capital, so we can call it it's northwest. I don't think yeah, I did give the city a name. So it's New. What did I call it? But it is northwest, not northeast. That's the problem. We can call it whatever we want. I just want to make sure it's easy to understand. So we can give it an acronym. That's fine. We can give it an acronym. So CNAW. I don't know what to call it, but it's our northwestern capital city. So I guess we can call it Cumberland. The idea is that I know it's northwest of our capital, so we can actually call it that. Here in the Washington D.C. area, there is a city that's about 3 hours or 2.5 hours northwest of the city called Cumberland, which is basically the gateway to the Appalachians. I want to say I think it's called the Queen City. I want to say there's also a couple of retro video game stores there because a couple of people set up some retro video game stores out in the Appalachians and in central Pennsylvania. I think they're called Cartridges Galore. So obviously the land's less expensive out there. So if you live out in the Panhandle of Maryland, Hagerstown, Cumberland, I think Frostburg. I want to say Frederick obviously has one too. But the idea is like that part of Maryland has has a chain of retro game stores that extends out to Pennsylvania, which extends out to Pennsylvania, which I always thought was hilarious. But yeah, but I guess a few kids like took their '90s, early 2000s game collection and decided to open a store with it. Would not be shocked. I get a lot of games from stores like that, obviously, which is why I'm selling half of them over the next year and a half. Games like this remind me that I don't need to keep around a bunch of mid games. Like, do I really want to play Alakeen's Gun? No. I can use the money and buy games I actually do want to play, like Beautiful Joe, I guess. I do have a couple of GameCube games I need to get around to playing. We'll get around to it. So those are all of our cities, I want to say. Yeah, West Virginia and Buffalo. So we'll figure out what to call these cities later. But the idea is that we might, depending on how manageable our civilization is, we have a couple of just random cities lying around here. So I built Cumberland, but what's Cumberland actually building? We don't need to build phalanxes. Again, typical rule. You can buy a phalanx, which can, in other words, you can quote you can buy a cheap unit. Never mind. So let's pick the cheapest unit we can. If you want to speed up production, you can buy a cheap unit, like this warrior costs 50 gold, and then get a head start on building something that's more necessary, like a caravan. And remember, you can always switch between unit types. Like you can always switch between settlers and warriors and phalanxes and triremes for free. But if you start switching between that and, say, buildings or wonders of the world, then you incur a 50% shield penalty. So if you committed 4 shields to building a settler and then you decide later, you know what? I think we need a granary instead. Then yeah, then those four, then you those number of then the 4 shields you've committed to the settler gets cut to 2, gets cut in half, and then you only have 2 shields that are ready to build the granary. But that's okay. If you commit early, it's not a problem. Let's see. So resource. Where are we gonna build? A caravan's always good. Again, caravans are universally useful because you can always use them to build. You can just stash your caravans outside of the city, put them to sleep, like this unit right here. This one's put to sleep. We know it's here, so when we decide to build a wonder of the world, we know how many caravans are stationed around the map, and that will tell us, okay, every caravan is 50 shields that we can dedicate towards speeding up the production of this wonder of the world. And of course, you can always just build things like, you could always build caravans and then send them off. That also would count towards speeding up production of a wonder of the world. But the whole point is it's a free way to store, to create a reserve that can be wielded when the time comes to build a wonder of the world. You can't speed up production of anything else for free. You can't speed up the production of, in other words, caravans can't be used to speed up the production of a courthouse, for example. They can only be used to speed up a wonder of the world. Keep going. Like I said, it's a free way to sort of create sort of a savings account that can be used to speed up the development of wonders, which is why I love doing that. It's a mentality, it's a strategy or an exploit that I'm glad I discovered because it's the kind of thing I wouldn't think of. It's the kind of thing I wouldn't think of naturally. It's a way to exploit the game's mechanics. So I appreciate stuff like that. I still don't. I'm supposed to send this guy out west, right? Or east. Yeah, I can send him out here to. Well, the problem is there's no way for me to get to the other side of this island. So yeah, like you would have to dedicate like a trireme to head up there. What we could do instead is send this trireme up to Cumberland and then have it be supported over in Cumberland. The idea is that you want to dedicate some of these units to Cumberland. And the idea is that you want every city to support at least one unit to relieve the strain on other cities. So again, this city is only supporting one unit right now, and that's fine. What about ceased? So the idea is that every city is only supporting one unit, I want to say. Or no city should be supporting more than 2 units, I would argue, at this point in the game. You listening to my advisors? I guess I can show you the High Council, but I just think it's really dumb. The High Council looks really stupid. It's just a bunch of guys in really bad cosplay. And one lady. Settlers, warriors, active. Phalanx in production. Wait, where's the phalanx in production? Probably in the new city. Let me check. Horsemen, chariot, trireme. Triremes can carry 2, but they're stuck to the coast. Caravans ignore the zone of control, which I mentioned earlier. Who's building the phalanx? City. No one's building a phalanx. Yeah, I already changed it. Yeah, I guess I never updated. Yeah, no one's building a phalanx here. Yeah, we're building courthouses, caravans. That's it. Courthouses and caravans. Huh. Yeah, I guess bugs. Advisors for our defense minister. So we are not building any phalanxes. I don't know what they're talking about. It'll update eventually. Maybe at the end of the next turn it will update. Not made in contact with any other civilization. So yeah, that's expected. Attitude advisor. So you're going to need that as your city grows. So you see how we left that ship was left behind? Well, we left the ship behind. We kept the ship in town to pacify that one red citizen. Well, now that the ship is left, the red discontent citizen is mad that the soldier's not here, I guess. Don't worry about it. Basically, he can't be pacified. That seems to be the idea. But we have the hanging gardens and we have happy citizens, so we can allow one unhappy citizen, I guess. We'll allow it. So we'll keep him here. Let me check on my other cities for a second. We should be fine. You can also sell your. We can't sell your palace. You may relocate it by ordering another city to build one. Correct. So if you accidentally build a city improvement you no longer need, you can just sell it. Yeah, this guy is stationed here. So he's just there to kind of keep tabs on the rest of the map, so I don't forget that they're there. That's basically all. That's the only purpose he serves. So he's gonna stay here and pacify Argentina. He shouldn't even be needed anymore. We can have him explore if we need him to, but it's not gonna be an issue for now. So we're ready to advance to the next turn. It looks like. So we can advance to the next turn. So we can have all these characters wait. There's no quick way to end the turn that I'm aware of. So I just tell all these characters to wait. And I can take you the advisor. So we can go to the High Council. We're not going to waste too much time on this because, like I said, this is very dumb. So it loads the again. When I played the CD-ROM version. I didn't for some reason I didn't copy this. I didn't copy any of this stuff. So I left out the folder that included all the stupid FMVs. So yeah, here's your defense minister saying get advice, build more units. So again, science advisor. We're number one. The domestic advisor is Elvis. Again, the Elvis impersonator is very dumb. The trade advisor. Build marketplaces so we can generate more money. So they sort of squabble, which is kind of cute. Yes, go explore. Thanks. I do think it's hilarious the science advisor wants us to explore, but I guess their argument is. By the way, I want to say these same costumes appear even for in the year 3000. But I guess the idea is that the scientists want us to explore because we can learn from other civilizations or eventually go into space. Domestic advisor. I guess so. I don't know what that means. So yeah, the council is stupid. When I was playing on PC, I never spoke to them. So I didn't even know this was here till I saw like the back of the box that I bought eventually. The back of the game box that I bought. I'm like, wait, there's FMV in this game? I'm glad they got rid of it, but now they have Disney characters. I know Tom Chick is very mad about that, but yeah, they have Disney characters and the diplomacy screens and all of that. It was the '90s. We were mucking around with full motion video, even though it was ugly and a massive waste of time. But what are you gonna do? So we can end the turn. So I'd say I'm glad you got to see that, but you didn't need to see that. We discovered philosophy. Allows research into communism, but we need industrialization. Let's research into again communism. Communism is going to make our civilization way more manageable. You could also create. We also have the republic, but republics to me are unmanageable because they have lower weight. They have lower rates of corruption than my monarchy does, but they're expensive. So when I play the game on PC, I'll muck around with a republic and kind of see what's up. But the way I play the game, communism just monarchies easy, communism's easy. But once you learn how to deal with trade, once you learn how to manage trade and pay for stuff with cash, then republics make more sense. I'll be the first to concede that. I was researching the medicine, monotheism at university. Free civilization advance. So I get a free civilization advance. Great American thinkers. So I guess we can learn banking. I hate some of these. Yes, we automatically discovered banking because we got a free advance. So when you learn philosophy, you can learn another civilization advance instantly. The problem is there's stuff like anything related to military stuff. I rarely do in this game because like there's some stuff you want, like railroads. You want railroads, you want engineers as quickly as possible. You want to be able to sail the ocean as quickly as possible, but here you have to you have to commit some time to like horseback riding. It's stupid. We haven't learned masonry yet. They want us to build a palace, a city wall. See if we can build a Great Wall, the pyramids. So what do we do if we get medicine? I got the chart right here in my hand. What does medicine give us? As weird as that sounds, medicine gives us Shakespeare's theater, which I think counts as a happy citizen. I forget. I think you get a happy citizens in every one of your cities if you build Shakespeare's theater. And they canceled the We Love the Queen celebration because there was a unhappy citizen. But I get it. I want to say it lasts for a turn. So again, the city generated more wealth because we built the hanging gardens. We got a few more extra citizens. We got some extra happy citizens, and that made us more productive. And I want to say it made us wealthier during that period with great happiness. So that whole thing. So again, if you know what you're doing in this game, you can play as a republic and generate a whole bunch of money, and that makes people happy. So the city becomes more productive as a result. So you can get that virtuous cycle going more easily when you're a republic that generates a bunch of trade, and that makes sense. So let's see what else. So we're not going to explore over here. You don't even know why. I don't even know why I dumped those guys there. It's like I don't know why I did that thing. Okay, so now that we're loaded on, we can go this way. Press select. We have 3 moves to move safely. And we've got to park ourselves right here near the coast. But again, this is how it works. So yeah, so from here, you can actually tell. You can tell the caravan. Well, the caravan's already moved, right? I want to say the caravan's already moved. Yeah, it's moved already. So the idea is that you could transfer the caravan from one trireme to the next. So basically every trireme patrols a particular area of the coast, so you can basically shuttle a unit from one trireme to the next. So that's the train system, the conveyor belt, I guess. You're handing off units from one trireme to the next, which I think is kind of cool. Again, it's an exploit that I'm a fan of. So let's press the square button, so we can reassign this trireme to the new city. So stuff like that I do all the time. And what else can we do? We'll come back to that in a second. So I don't know where this. Yes, we're supposed to send these guys up north so they can explore the island up there. Yeah, so we're gonna send the ship around, and it can explore the island up there. But isn't there a no? There's no other caravans you need to escort. There's a caravan over there, so that's the problem. Okay, so there's a caravan we need to send over here, so we'll figure it out. So we'll get him a ship eventually. So we'll send a ship over there. And this guy's going to explore that part of the island, and we'll leave these other warriors where they are. So he might be ready to advance to the next turn. Okay, so we'll send this guy around. Okay, so that works. So we can send this guy to the other side, and he can hook up with this coastline right here. So we'll send one of these guys over to pick. So we'll send both of these ships over, so we can bring back that caravan, and then make sure those soldiers over there get to where they need to get. Need to get to where they go. 3 moves. Yeah. So these 2 triremes will shuttle some of these units to the next island over, and we'll see what's up. This is a free nomad, so we can irrigate here. We'll just build a road and we'll irrigate later. So we'll set up a series of roads to increase trade to our capital city. Then we can start irrigating that area if we need to. We don't have to do it right now, but Cap can support a larger population, so irrigation is not a terrible idea. That road through the forest serves no purpose, unfortunately. Yeah, that forest tile right here, we have no extra trade on it, so it's a waste. Yeah, there's no trade on it. Effects of road increases trade. Well, we have to learn. I want to say there's a civilization advance we need to learn before we're allowed to get the trade buff. For now, this just becomes a quicker way to get through the forest. Because remember, roads reduce your movement points. I think it's like it costs 1/3 of a movement point to use a road. So basically, you can move 3 road tiles in a single turn. If you're on horseback or you're a chariot where you have 2 movement points instead of just 1, you can move 3 times faster on a road. That's basically all that means. Other than that, it served no purpose. We could just put the road here instead, but that'll be important later in the game. It's a resource we'll need later. So where's our free nomad? Let's go back to the free nomad. He's building the roads. Never mind. So they're building the road. So we can advance our turn now. I think we're done. We don't need to keep this guy here anymore, do we? This guy's from CC. I don't think we need to keep him in here anymore. We can move him around the map if we need to. Again, the idea is that we can use him to pacify other cities. Argentina got bigger, so that's going to be interesting. So we'll just leave him here. So I guess we need to move both of these guys. So we'll eventually get to where we're going more quickly. All right. So again, I'm not going to make you sit through me shuffling a bunch of pieces. So I wanted to set the table for my strategy for the future. Let me see where the units are. Yeah, are there any more units around here that can't be moved or they're just sleeping? See again, this caravan is sleeping. Where is it sleeping? Well, it's sleeping. In the PC version, there are coordinates here that tell you where it's located. You can't see that here. The good news is, though, is that at least you can just click on it and see where it's sleeping. So we can go to units. See, is there anyone here that hasn't moved already? Or maybe they're just waiting. That's okay. So everyone's already moved, so we're good. So again, if you're wondering about things like, that's why I have all of these warriors that are active. I don't put them to sleep because I want to know where they are. So I leave them as active, and I just tell them to wait. So I always know, okay, there's a soldier in this city, in this city, in this city. So I know when my next turn comes up where all my soldiers are at any given time. Again, in the PC version, you can always just see, okay, this soldier is sleeping in this city at these coordinates. You can't do that here. So you have to compromise. Again, you'll work with what the game gives you. So again, me being familiar with the game means I developed all these dumb strategies to kind of manage the game. Trade advisor. So again, you can see how much gold we're generating out of each city, how much science each city is generating. You can also see the total cost. And we're not spending any money on infrastructure. No city improvements. That's why our total cost is 0. So we have no expenses. So we're generating 13 gold per turn, 22 science per turn, discovering stuff every 10 turns. That makes sense. Because remember, more advanced technologies require more science beakers. So keep that in mind. Good enough. Let me check on one other thing. The foreign ministry. Yeah, we already went through all that, so we're fine. Okay, so we can end the turn. So what else we got? Yeah, so these guys are going to the other side of the map. Yes, the idea is once we get to the strait, we can bring the ships around. They can get us to the other island, see what's up. Might be another continent. Who can tell? So we're building a road between Argentina and Ancanal, and once it's done, then we can start focusing on irrigating those grassland shield squares that we got here. The shielded grassland. That's more productive than regular grassland. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's another continent over here. So again, all these soldiers are in a wait status. So basically, I know when my turn's about to end by just leaving these soldiers in an active state. So I always know where my soldiers are. They're in cities. So if I need to move them later, I know that they're ready to go and I know where they're located. And again, that horseman's gonna explore that portion of the map. He'll hug the South Pole to see if there's another continent nearby or another island at least. Let me pick the other guy. Okay, he was over here. It doesn't cycle properly, but what are you gonna do? Okay, so now I don't know what load means. So can I move this way? Oh. Oh, so it didn't so the cargo didn't transfer, so I'm gonna have to manually do it, which is fine. I'm not opposed to that. I probably should have told it to sleep again. Okay, so now I can move it this way. So okay, so there you go. So that's the caravans. Now I can just move it over here. So that's the fiddliness I have to do to transfer units between triremes. But again, you can get from one end of the ocean way more quickly if you have a series of triremes that you can use to shuttle a unit from one side of the ocean to the other. So if you have a conveyor belt of triremes, it works out. So again, I like doing crap like that in games like this. Just kind of exploiting the mechanics a little bit. It's fun. Okay, no trireme there. So yeah, so these guys are just empty. So we'll have these two triremes hug the coast. I did that wrong. Yeah, so they're both kind of stuck. But the idea is that eventually they'll be able to pick up one of these caravans, and those one of them will go up to the coast, north of Ann Canal, and go to the other side of the strait and create like a bridge to the other strait. And the other trireme will carry the caravan over to. Basically, we're gonna say these are ferries. These triremes are basically ferries. So we'll have a ferry system set up. It'll be fun. It'll be cool. So we'll just stay here. Okay, so this road is done. So we can irrigate this in a second. So this nomad will build the road there, then irrigate, send the irrigation all the way to that shielded square. So we're good. Ready to end the turn? Yeah, we're good. So ready to end the turn. Yeah, so we're ready to end the turn. So we can wait. So the idea is I'm keeping these units active so I always know to perform some action on them in a future turn. Well, thankfully my footage isn't my yeah I plugged in my my component to HDMI adapter. I plugged in the USB power into my television because I did have it originally connected to my Xbox One, but the power was not very reliable. So I decided, but my Xbox One is powered off; it's in sleep mode. So now my component to HDMI converter is being powered by the television instead, using a different USB port, but that's okay. I figured it's a more reliable source of power, as is. Okay, so the turn's over. So like I said, we're gonna get these guys to the next island, so we'll figure it out. So we'll just get this guy over to the straight. Yeah, that guy's not carrying anything. So like I said, these guys will be the ferry. That will get me to West Virginia. Yeah, so we have two of these triremes. One will go over here to pick up the caravan, and the other one will serve as the ferry to the strait. Yeah, there's something over there. Yeah, that might just be a coast. Again, I'm hoping there's another island over here. We'll see how it goes. We'll figure out what's going on eventually. Like, we'll figure out what's going on eventually. So, yeah, you can see the caravan over there. Yeah, so eventually we'll be able to send the caravan trireme, deposit it right here. So, again, these two triremes can kind of like hug the coast here and serve as a ferry. So, we'll have these triremes kind of like make a circuit. They'll be like circulator. They'll be like circulator ferries. This one will hug the coast over here. Yeah, this one will kind of patrol this area. This trireme will be sort of a western flyer that sticks to this coast. So the idea is that eventually we can shuttle people between this side of the capital island and the points west. So one of these ferries, one of these triremes will ferry the central coast between these islands, and this western ferry will kind of trail behind it and kind of stick to the western coast. So that's for me. That the logistics of that are the thing that I love the most about this game. The logistics of shuttling your people around so that they can move around more efficiently. I do kind of like that. There are lots of PC games that are about logistics. And there was a logistics course I never took when I was in university, and I again shuttling like trucks around sounds kind of interesting to me. It's a nice little logistical challenge. It's a nice little challenge that I love. And there are lots of video games that do that kind of stuff well. Press square, build the road, and that road to Ann Canal should be done shortly. We're ready to. Okay, we're not ready to end the turn, so we'll build the road here, then we'll irrigate it, and we'll be good. Yeah, so we'll send this guy over to the. We'll send one of these ships will go to the strait, pick up the soldiers near Ann Canal, and guide them across the straits. Like I said, there'll be a bridge to the next landmass. We'll see what's going on. The landmass north of Ann Canal. So we'll see what's going on with that. Like I said, it could be a continent, could be an island. No worries. So we're good. Yes, we can save the game here. Triangle. Press L2 or R2 to get the cursor back up. Because remember, the L2 and R2 cursors, the L2 and R2 buttons switch to the city cursor, and that allows us to press square to bring up this map, to bring up this menu, and this is where I can save the game. Again, 10 blocks needed to save. These memory cards took up 15 slots. So, that's rough, dog. But as I said, we're playing on a PlayStation 3 with a bunch of virtual memory cards here, so it's not a problem. We're not going to switch during the save menu. It'll be absurd. We don't want to crash the game. In fact, before I end the video, I might see if I can crash the game again, just to see what happens. So I recorded this with my Plantronics headset plugged into the quad-core Celeron Windows 10 Education laptop with the camera app capturing this footage at 30 frames a second. The actual video game is being played on a PlayStation 3, playing a PlayStation 1 disc. The PlayStation 3 has component video output, RGB output, I want to say, plugged into my Game On Gamestop game component to HDMI converter that is being plugged into. Let me go to the game options. It's being plugged into a J5 Create 4K UHD capture device, which allows me to play on my TV with lower input latency, which doesn't matter for a game like this, but it's got a USB connection to my laptop so I can record the footage from it. Let's see. We turned off some stuff. I don't know what cursor movement means. Can I change the background? Whoops. Yeah, it's black. Game options. Whoops. Okay, so it's a bit of a delay on that. It's changing the background. So it's changing the background from brown to white. White. Cream, I guess. Yeah, this is brown. Yeah, it's a picture. I mean, you can also just turn it off, and I'm not opposed to turning it off. I'm not opposed to turning it off. We'll see if that makes a difference. I can also change my ruler name there. Yeah, so now it's just a black background, which makes more sense to me. Game options. Let's see if the game crashes if I change this terrible music. It's working now. Because it crashed the last time I tried to do this. Music. Whoops. Let's see. Game options. Whoops. It's not crashing now. Yeah, it's not crashing now, so I feel better. Okay. You can change your ruler name, so obviously I'm Harriet Tubman. So we'll come back with this video number 2 of Civilization 2 on the PlayStation 1. We'll do a couple. We're not going to do a whole playlist of this because you don't want to play this. I do want to play enough of this game to figure out how slow the game gets. Because I think there are 4 other civilizations here. In fact, I can double check. There are 4 other civilizations. In fact, I can just retire and see how they do. Demographics. Civilization score. Remember, we're playing with a barbarian handicap. The American people. Achievements, barbarians. I got a total score of 14. Kingdom. No. Advisors. No, it was under something else, was it? World. There we go. Top 5 cities. Well, we haven't discovered anyone else. We might still have the top 5 cities. Who can say? Demographics. So there are 4 civilizations on the map, and I figure if there's a bunch of, PC characters shuttling around near the end of the game, the turns might take a while. So we'll see how again, I want to play enough the game to know how bad I can break it later on. So we'll see how it goes. Annual income, 4 gold per capita. Hooray! Hilarious. Life expectancy, 25 years. Ugh, wow. We'll get better once we discover medicine and stuff. So we're second in life expectancy. Yeah, I'll change later. I don't know. I don't know what increases it. I want to say happiness increases life expectancy because approval rating is obviously important. Military service. Again, we don't have a very large military. Productivity. Okay, so stuff like that. So we'll figure it out. So I'll retire and see what happens because I already saved my game. So the Japanese, yeah, we're number 1 by a mile. So the Japanese, the French, the Aztecs. So basically, we're way ahead of everyone else. But that just tells us who else is on the map. It doesn't say where they are. Harriet Tubman the Worthless. F you. Moses, I say. Disrespect Moses like that. I don't want to save this, actually. Don't save. Yeah, we don't need to save that. Don't crash. Come on. Don't crash. You're still figuring it out. Yeah, still figuring out what to do at the end of the game. There it is. Activision Blizzard, y'all. So yeah, video number 2 is done.